Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 635 of the DrunkNerds podcast. I'm host as always, I'm Tyler, and joining me we have the man, the myth, the legend himself, Sir Colonel Gables. What's up, buddy?
I'll tell you what, man, I'm doing fine, but I am getting really excited upon this month in general because not only is it the Halloween season, but also it's because of how many good game releases are going to be happening this month. I mean, we have Silent Hill 2 Remake that's going to be releasing on the 8th. Heavily
Mm-hmm.
excited for that. That thing's rating pretty high. And on top of that, I'm just in the mood for like a survival horror type of game. So that's gonna be fun. I mean, we got that. We got Metaphor gonna be releasing the 11th. Not sure the ratings are right now, but at the same time, it's up my alley. It's a
Yeah,
Persona style
Famitsu
game.
gave it a 39 out of 40, so
What's it, the 37 out of 40?
Silent Hill 2 got 37.
Oh yeah, Silent Hill 2 got 37, and then like Metaphor is like 39 out of 40.
Yeah, to be fair though,
And
they also gave Resident Evil 6 a 40 out of 40, so
okay, I don't know how that could have possibly been.
I don't either. I believe it was like Wednesday or Thursday that it was like I think the 11th or the 12th or 13th anniversary of Resident Evil 6 coming out. So
Yeah,
fucked up, man. It's fucked up. It's not right. Fuck that
yeah,
game.
that's really weird, dude. But other than that, though, I'm doing good. Actually have a chance to wear my new hat that I end up getting in the mail and stuff. For those listeners and stuff, I got a gift of a new 49ers hat, and it's one of the ones that the NFL coaches are generally wearing right now, to where it's a black hat. You have the team symbol on the thing, and then you have like a freaking shoestring or something that looks like it's decorated like on the front of the bill, which
Yeah,
I don't
it's like
get
a new
that
thing.
design.
I don't. I've seen other. I've seen like other play like other like on TV and stuff like that. More and more people wearing it. I
Yeah,
don't know. I don't know if it must be the new trend.
I don't know. And I'll tell you what, I've already seen coaches cut off that string and just have that thing because it just looks.
Yeah,
Some of it just looks stupid though, but at the same time, I really do like this hat.
yeah,
It's really nice.
yeah. We are not the fashion police. So I have no idea
No.
what's hip or cool. I just wear things that fit me. So yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. And that's the thing about being a big dude in general, just in general and stuff. You want to wear things to feel comfortable. You don't want to wear things for someone just to go and look at you like a piece of meat.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? If someone wants to look at me a piece of meat, I'm not gonna be upset about that either. But um, unless you're like a wolf or a bear or like a cougar, well, depending on what kind of cougar you are. Uh,
It'd be like that freaking episode of Family Guy or something like that, where it's just like the freaking slow kids like fast animals or something like that,
mm,
and you just have this picture of this fat kid or something like that, just just straggler above right there, and you have this freaking like predator, like this freaking like animal like a cougar or something like that coming out. It's like do 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 do
yeah. He's like,
do.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Pretty much. Yeah, that'd definitely be us. I'd be the first one to go if a bear ever attacked. So my buddies were like, "Cool, we just gotta outrun you, man." Like, yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. I'll just soil myself. Hopefully that works.
Uh, but otherwise, how are you doing tonight, Tyler?
I'm doing all right. I'm drinking some Oktoberfest. October is it's probably my favorite month of the year. It's a changing of the seasons. Obviously, like I live in Iowa, so it's like it's only nice to live here like 3 months out of the year, and we're kind of like in that stretch. Although it did get to 90 today, which is very annoying. Um, right? I know. But other than that, I'm doing okay. Can't complain too much. Clanging and banging as always. Yeah, like you, we were like looking at like kind of like the rest of the year for video games. I'm like, fuck, man. There's like 8 games in the month of October that I want to play. So I was telling you that, like, luckily, like a lot of them are gonna be shorter, like probably like
Yeah.
less than 10 hours, and a few are like in like 15ish hours, and then there's Dragon Age. So yeah, otherwise, I'm doing all right. Nothing too crazy with me. Just still healing up from this the surgery and all that. Got to go to the doctor
Yeah.
this week. Hopefully, I'll be out of the boot and I'll be able to walk again normally for the first time in 3 months. That'd be freaking awesome. Is it 3 months? Almost 4 months. 4 months. Jesus.
Yeah, no
Because
shit.
I did it in June. Yeah, so 4 months. That's crazy. But yeah, no, I'm doing. Like I said, doing all right. But something I could do a little better, people. If you want to do that, if you want to make me feel a little better, you can go to extra-life.org. It is a really cool charity that Gables and I have been doing. I think this is my 13th year. So it's gonna be Gables' 12th year, I want to say.
12th.
Yeah.
Yep, 12th.
So What it is, if in case you don't know, I'm wearing a T-shirt right now for audio or for video listeners, stuff like that. It is a really cool charity where we play video games for 24 straight hours. This year it's on November 2nd. It's always the first Saturday in November, whatever daylight savings time
Yes.
is. Usually when it is. And we raise money for the Children's Miracle Network hospitals. You can pick any one, I believe, in all of the United States or Canada. Um, all the money goes to those hospitals, help the big beautiful kids out there. We're not asking for donations. If you honestly, it'd be better if you just went. And if there's somebody you know, and or maybe you're interested yourself, whether it's let that person know, or if you want to sign up for yourself, do that and tell more people about it. Spread the word, raise money yourself, and do all that. Be really great if you can do that. We just want to basically get as many people out there as possible, spread the word as much as possible. They've raised over $100 million in its lifetime. I believe we're on think this would be year 16 or 17. Maybe actually probably longer than that. My goodness. I think it's been like 2008. I want to say maybe earlier than that actually. So we're getting close to 20 years here. So like I said, they raised over $100 million in that time. So it'd be really cool if you want to do that. You can just like I said, go to extra-life.org. There's a link down below if you want to click on that and kind of read all the information about that and read about kind of how it started with Victoria. Unfortunately passed away from cancer and this kind of kickstarted the whole event of Extra Life. So there's a lot of cool things you can do when you hit certain milestones with raising money, all that. You can Twitch stream all that. Whatever you can do to help out would be really great. So yeah, there's a link down below in the show notes if you want to click on that and go there and share the link with other people. Like I said, if there's other people in your life that maybe this is something you want to do or something you're interested in doing, but if there's other people you think might be into this, be awesome. Just spread the word. That's all we really want to do. And you don't have to do it for the full 24 hours. You don't have to do it all in one day. You can do it over, I know some people that split it up over weeks. They'll do 6 hours every weekend, or they do 12 and 12. Maybe they do it the week later, a week before. That's just like November 2nd is the game day this year. So, where we're going to do it. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited for that. I always say it's my least favorite day of the year, just because it's a ton of fun. I usually hang out with some
Oh yeah.
buddies, to play video games, talk to some buddies while we're doing it. And then also, that's the fun of it and also raising money, for a good cause. But the downside is usually the after effects of doing it, and usually requires a couple days to recover. Although Gables created a little bit of a cheat code for everybody. He started doing it, and then I started doing it a few years later. Of just get up at like midnight, 2 a.m. if you're capable, um, your time, and just that way you're done like midnight, 2 o'clock, or whatever in the morning, and then you're not you don't completely ruin your sleep schedule. So I used to do it where I just wake up, and sometimes you don't wake up till 8 o'clock in the morning, and then you gotta play games till 8 o'clock in the morning the next day. Uh,
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, that was just something I came up with because after going through the extent of like 24 hours at that one year, I think it was like around 2017 or 2018,
yeah,
and oh my God, literally reaching out to that extent to where I was so sleep deprived and stuff like that that I literally felt like I was drunk. And it literally just felt like I was just like freaking just like out of element and stuff. I actually took I remember taking a picture of myself like during that time and stuff. I thought like, oh my God, it looks like I'm freaking drinking.
yeah,
But the reason why I did that is because even after that event, I still was not recovering until like about a day or two later after that. And it's
yeah,
part of the reason why I took a week off during extra lifetime for that stuff as opposed to having like maybe a day off or something like that for just that one.
yeah,
Because when you do this type of fundraising thing where you are playing the 24 hours, I mean, obviously you're taking breaks here and there. You're having your snacks, you're having your lunch, your dinner, and stuff like that. Then just going back to the grind and stuff. I know that when you go and do like at midnight and stuff, obviously, barring a what job or something you're doing, if you just get off, like, say, maybe like about 4 or 5 in the afternoon or something, or the early evening, and then it's like you fall asleep and all of a sudden you wake up at midnight, you got that energy of like at least about a 4 or 5 hours sleep, hopefully. And
yeah,
then you just wake up at midnight, start gaming, start doing that various stuff. I mean, that's personally what I decided to do because it was best for me. Tyler followed suit a few years later, like he was saying.
yeah.
And it
2020, I did.
actually, what was the most hilarious part about it is last year was like literally the fastest extra life I think we ever had
Yeah,
because it's like we did midnight to midnight, but on top of that, we played a couple different games. We were playing like Mario Brothers Wonder at one point and stuff through some bits of levels.
yeah, yeah. It was like the last, like honestly, the big thing is like make sure you have games. Maybe not have like like a strict schedule, but like kind of go with the flow. But have
Yeah,
several games you want to play, not just like I've made a lot of mistakes in the past of like like eating like really heavy carby food. Don't do that. Um, but also like make sure you have more games than you think you'll need to play. And don't force
absolutely.
yourself to play something you didn't want to play because I mean it sucks to do, but especially when you gotta go for 24 hours, it's not fun. There's been years
No.
I've gone on with like I have these 3 games I'm gonna play, and like there's been games I've saved just for extra life and then not like them, and then sometimes you're just not vibing with the game, and even though you maybe you like the game, it's just not the time or place for it. You're not really vibing with it. Sometimes depending on
Mm,
the setting, like
yeah.
I try not to play like story heavy games because usually like we're in a chat, so I don't like I want
Oh yeah.
especially a story heavy game where like I'm playing for the first time. Um, I want to pay attention to what I'm doing, what's going on here. Maybe you don't want to play like if you're gonna like be in a party chat with your friends and I'm gonna play Last of Us for the first time. Maybe don't do that. But like if you're like I always talk about like you can like you have a good like open world game you want to play something like that. Like I got Dragon Age as a plan or like I've but I try to have like several games I want to play kind of jumble through. So stuff like that because like I said there's been years where I had 2 or 3 games like saved for it and just none of them were clicking for me and I've got like 13, 14 hours to go, and I'm like, I don't want to play any of these games. So then like, then you're just not having a good time. So
Oh my gosh. I know for this year, I think one of my plans when I'm doing the extra live stream and stuff like that, I want to try to at least try to stream things on my Twitch channel. Obviously, it's twitch.tv/Colonel Gables for those that just wanted to just watch me as I try to play something. But yeah, I still need to go through and collaborate and try to create a list of particular games I want to play during the event. It's less than a month
yeah,
until Extra Life.
yeah, 4 weeks
But
away.
until then, though, it's like I got the PC, I got the game stuff. I just need to decide what I want to play and what I want to stream because I want to at least have my face cam on at the time.
Yeah,
So it's going to be kind of hilarious to have to deal with my little dog and everything else while I say that and stuff. I just hope he doesn't stir too much longer.
yeah. Just put a block of cheese down. He'll be good for a little bit.
Oh, I'll just do the little trick that I have with him is just get him one of his favorite little goodies and stuff like that and just,
Yeah,
just oh God. But yeah, that's just partial thing of the plan. Just
yeah,
don't have everything else like 100% ready yet and stuff, but yeah, it's just something just to keep in mind.
yeah. So yeah, it's a month. It's a month away, November 2nd. So or less than a month away. So yeah. So check it. Like I said, go extra-life.org. Go there. And while you're doing that, if you can also, if you are listening to this podcast or watching us, please like, follow, subscribe wherever you're listening to us at. And maybe if you're one of those places you want to help us out a little bit more, go click on a couple other buttons. And if you're listening to us on Apple or Spotify or whatever podcast services that we're on pretty much all of them, whatever one you're listening to us on, hit that 5-star review, hit the subscribe button, the follow button, leave a comment. There are links down below in the show notes. We have a YouTube channel. We're really pushing our YouTube channel. We have hit every single metric we need to actually make like ad revenue on this channel, except for
Hmm.
subscribers. We're like 455 right now. We need to get to 500, and then we get to 1,000. That'd be great. So help us a little bit more. Maybe we can like Gables and I could buy like a Starbucks coffee like once a year or something out of this podcast. We're two
Yeah,
guys. We
that'd be
don't.
pretty nice.
That'd be great. I would definitely take. Don't even want a Trento. Just I'll take a medium. Um, Event is that event? No, event is whatever. Who cares? Anyways, if you guys want to help us out, we really would appreciate it. Yeah, like I said, we've been doing this for over 11 years. We don't make money on this. We don't charge money. We don't ask for any money. We just ask for a little bit of your time and a few clicks of the button. So if you can help us out with that, that'd be greatly appreciated. But Gables, let's get into some of the news this week. Oh, in case you don't know, this is a video game podcast where every week Gables and I get together and talk about video games and everything we kind of love
Mm.
and hate about them. So, all right, Gables, without further ado, we're 14 minutes in. Let's get into this bad boy. Um,
Okay.
not a lot of crazy news. I got really high pitched there for some reason. Not a lot of crazy news this week. A lot of it more Ubisoft related. We kind of talked about last week. There was obviously the delay of Assassin's Creed Shadows from November 15th to February 14th. And there's been some more information coming up. Obviously, this has been an ongoing thing for a while now with Ubisoft. They've been kind of a rough spot. Like a lot of their games coming out, they delayed a bunch of games. They've
Mm.
been constantly delaying games, canceling games, bringing games back from the dead. Games coming out, and some of them like reviewing well, but they're not selling. Like Prince of Persia: Lost Crown is one like a lot of people are considering their game of the year, and it's only sold a few 100,000 copies. Last we heard. You look at like Star Wars Outlaws sold over 1 million. Obviously, nowhere near where they needed. Even though like some of these games review well, like I think Star Wars Outlaws is like a 76 on like OpenCritic. Prince of Persia is like I think like high 80s, low 90s. And like some of their games,
Yes.
then some of their games come out and like yeah, obviously they're sneaky poo poo and or some come out we don't even know they come out and there's like a million of them. There's like the or like something like comes Xify hits great for a couple weeks or like a few months and then no one it's trickling off. There was like a Marble Madness a game that came out in like June that no one knew about. I tried to pay attention to this shit and I had no clue it came out. Roller Champions, fucking there was like that what was there was that one Hyperspace or whatever that game service game that came out and like quickly went away. And, um, anyways, they've obviously been in like we can't talk about like they were the ones that kind of made the trends and now they've been the ones kind of chasing the trends for a while. And it's kind of put them in a bad place. And like we've seen like we keep hearing about all these games they have planned out and then they keep announcing that they're canceling these games. There's been a ton of like a lot of VR games they were put in place that they were working on. Like there's like a Splinter Cell VR game that just they like were working on. They got canceled. There's been a ton of games of service games of like they've announced that they're working on. A ton of those have been canceled or came out and they're pretty much
Mm.
already kind of come and gone or going away here. Probably like World Champions I believe is still going, but that was gonna literally came out with like no press and it came out and then like or like what was that? Remember that snowboarding game they put out? That was supposed to be like kind of like an ongoing thing. Um, sn-
Yeah, I think it was called like something Republic or
no, that
something
was
like
Rider
that.
Republic. That was a different game. That was I think that was
Okay.
the but that's next. I can't, there's the people are yelling at us right now, but yeah, but they put out like they put these games out and like sometimes they had like For Honor. Like who the fuck wants this? And it came out and it was actually a pretty big hit. Then you have like
Right.
Rainbow Six Siege come out. And that game's still going. It's still one of the most played games and one of the most purchased games every month. Like
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
on
There's
like
still content coming out from that game and stuff that people rather enjoy about it. Those are just one of the few successes that I know Ubisoft has currently.
yeah. Then obviously they have the Smash of the Year with Skull and Bones. Can't forget about that one. But yeah, like we've been talking about, it's just been a ongoing issue with them of like even when they seem like they have a hit, it doesn't really fully like live up to the potential of what they wanted or
No.
needed. And then like because sometimes you have games that come out and like they don't make the money back, but you have other games that will like offset those. Um, and those games that come out, they're not offsetting the ones that fail. So like that's kind of the major problem here is they kind of like sometimes you see there's like the sales figures for games. And they say it's disappointment even though it sold millions of copies, but it's like well it sold it made its money back, but it didn't make enough money to make the money didn't make sell enough to make the money back on these other things here. We kind of seen this recently was kind of the same thing with Square Enix, but Square Enix has Final Fantasy 14 to kind of like keep that company afloat. Someone like they could fuck up everything and then I think that company can't fail at this point. But yeah, anyways, so apparently there's been some rumblings here. This is from Bloomberg that Tencent is potentially considering maybe like there's been some talk about Tencent buying out the GMO family. Yves has been running the company for a long time now, like the 2000s. His family was he was like one of the co-founders of the company. Another thing is though, instead, is I look though if Tencent either way, like if these things happen, it's a big if. Like nothing like this happened a few years ago. There was a lot of discussions about stuff, and this didn't happen either. Um, but also another thing here is the company can go private if Tencent buys it, or maybe Tencent and the Guillemot family can team up and buy out all. Basically, pretty much to go private from what I understand. You have to basically buy up all the stock in the company and then take it private. And it's a very expensive endeavor, but also brings a lot of benefits. If you don't have to answer to a lot of people and you can kind of run the company the way you see fit, and so there's benefits, especially obviously as we see the price the stock go down year over year. So I don't know. It was kind of what's your when you hear all this, what's your opinion on that? Like potentially Tencent either taking over or
Hmm.
a bigger partnership here.
What I find most interesting, this comes not even a few years after Vivendi tried to go and issue a takeover of Ubisoft and
Yeah.
stuff. So it's sort of surprising that Ubisoft is even entertaining the possibility of wanting to potentially sell their company to Tencent. Obviously, when we know with Tencent is they're a major company, a major like organization out of China and stuff
Technically the
that
biggest game developer in the world.
yes, technically yes,
Yeah.
because of the amount of power and influence and stuff that they do have inside the gaming industry. But in terms of this, I mean, it's very surprising that it's gotten to this point for Ubisoft. I mean, at this point, even like for stock market stuff and from what their game performance wise and stuff, they're kind of hemorrhaging money at this point. So, at one hand, it's like I'm not too surprised that they're trying to entertain like some bits of maybe potentially selling Ubisoft. But at the same point, it's like I'll believe it when I see it because it's like this is the Guimol family. These are the people that fought tooth and nail to try to keep from Vivendi going through and taking over and stuff, buying up shares and doing all this stuff to try to do what they did and stuff. But I'm not saying that this could not possibly happen. I mean, if this does happen tomorrow, I mean, hell, I know all of us would be talking about it because now Tencent has acquired a major, like a AAA studio, or
Yeah,
no, publisher, not studios, publisher.
publisher. Yeah, yeah,
That's at Ubisoft and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely kind of interesting to see what may happen with Ubisoft now the next couple of months. I mean, if there's rumblings now that potentially Tencent's going to be taking over, maybe there's other players at play that could potentially want to try to do the same thing. Who knows?
yeah. Um, like I felt this way like 3 or 4 years ago, where I think it was time for Yves to go away. Um, and like I'm not, like obviously, uh, he's done a great job. He brought it to Ubisoft to like the highest it's ever been. Not too long ago. Like they were the highest they've ever been. But we've seen this a lot of time with a lot of like we're sports fans. We see Bill Belichick at a certain point where it's all right,
Hmm.
like it's time to go away. Vince McMahon, the greatest wrestling promoter of all time, is like, and for a very long time there, like he like it passed him by and it was time to go. He stuck around way too long, and it was a lot of it took a lot of terrible things for him to finally be gone. And he came back and he was gone again. But some interesting stuff here though is like after they announced the possibility of like the buyout or the potentially going private, the stock did go up like 34%, which isn't un. It's basically because the price went up because of the stock, because of the shares, is because that means people think, oh, cool, they're going to buy our shares. So obviously the price is going to go up for these shares because they want more money for when they potentially buy the shares. So
Absolutely.
that doesn't like I don't give that too much credence there. And talking about the whole like buyout with Vivendi and then Tencent going on here. Crazy thing here that like so I was kind of reading about the past of like Ubisoft like just earlier today and just kind of like trying to give an understanding how we got here. Um, and a lot of it obviously is everything we're seeing in video gaming right now, and like all of entertainment, where it's like we've seen a lot of people like kind of a lot of things go crazy during the pandemic. Way more people are buying video games, so all of a sudden more people start investing more and more money. Over hiring happened, and then kind of COVID was over and people weren't buying as many games. And so, but people are investing way more money in these games, but people are buying less of them. So we have that, and also people are playing more of the same games ever before. But what was kind of interesting here is so when Vivendi, um, when basically when Ubisoft eventually stopped Vivendi from taking over, the Vivendi agreed to sell like they had like 30% of the shares of the company, and they sold them off, and Tencent bought most of those. So then that's gonna but when Tencent bought those, Ubisoft and Tencent became like started this partnership in like 2018, and that's kind of when things went to shit for Ubisoft was
Mm,
in 2018. So honestly, like people like we get excited sometimes. Like a lot of people were excited about potentially like we were kind of excited as like gamers of like, oh, Xbox getting Activision. That's great because like Activision's in this kind of shitty spot where it's just making Call of Duty games. We see all these like great games come out, and then they close those studios that made those great games to keep the work on Call of Duty. It's like cool, this would be great. And like arguably, I mean, obviously it's only been like I don't even think it's been a year yet that Activision has been owned by Xbox, but I would say the vibes aren't like fantastic right now about that. And you can look at the same thing with Bethesda. Just because someone buys it doesn't mean it's gonna like make it better. And like I said here,
well,
like
no, yeah, exactly your point, Tyler, and stuff, and try to piggyback like a little bit and add on to more of that. It's like, yeah, it doesn't necessarily equal success. And on top of that, this also leads to a lot of people being let go
yeah,
inside of these major like publishers as well. I mean, when Microsoft acquired Activision and when that thing finally went through, a bunch of people got laid
like
off.
2,500 people this year.
Like 2,500 people at least this year from just the that Activision standpoint. Same thing's going to apply when Ubisoft, if they do sell, eventually get purchased and stuff. A lot more people are going to be weeded out and stuff in terms of like unnecessary job positions now, or some things that are overlapping in terms of the other company stuff, because with the parent company wanting to buy like another company and stuff, of course they're going to replace that company's like own people and their positions and stuff, or what they were doing with theirs and stuff, because they know what they can expect and do. So of course that's going to initially happen as well. And of course it takes time for a partnership to fully develop when you buy another game company, in order to see the production and the results of what may potentially, reap some benefits
Yeah,
for this hard work and labor going through. I mean, just a year in from Microsoft acquiring Activision, we're now seeing some little bits here and there, but it's still way too early.
yeah,
And so for any type of other company that's going to maybe buy Ubisoft, you're going to be having to look at the long term here. It's like you're not going to see immediate like benefits here. You're going to have to try to plan out and just do a whole bunch of different things, whether it be layoffs, whether it be restructures and focusing on their core franchises that are not readily suffering or floundering enough, like Assassin's Creed, or hell, even like Rainbow Six,
yeah.
the Siege especially and stuff. And I know there's like probably another core game I'm forgetting from Ubisoft, but
Splinter Cell is like
well,
there's that
Splinter
there's that
Cell,
remake that's supposed to be in the works. So
yeah, You know what? It's been so long with Splinter Cell since its last like major game and stuff like that, that maybe a revival and a remake like that would potentially help if there's an acquisition by another company. But Prince of Persia,
yeah, and
I feel like
they
that could
bungled
be
that whole
another
thing.
pillar with that too,
Yeah,
if done right in terms of the remake. Lost Crown was a step in the right direction. The other one that's still in early access is still kind of like out there though, but
yeah,
yeah, it's just a lot of uncertainty and a lot of like variables have to go right in order for stuff like this to actually produce something positive.
yeah. Well, we even see though, like when you put a great game out, it doesn't necessarily equal giant sales too. So we see that
Well,
like
yeah.
Final Fantasy 16 was one of the highest rated games of last year. It's to Square Enix, it didn't meet sales, even though it was the fastest selling Final Fantasy game of all time.
Yes.
Like we see stuff like, I mean, like I just said, Lost Crowns is like probably going to be like a Game of the Year nominee, and a lot of people's probably shortlist for Game of the Year this year, and it sold a few 100,000 copies. It did just come to
Hmm.
Steam in August, so there is that. They did also announce that Assassin's Creed Mirage, they just announced, I believe yesterday or today, is coming to Steam this year. It's like so.
She
Uh, just,
that's such a missed opportunity that they didn't have that at launch and stuff of those games,
yeah,
because that would have definitely helped them out plenty.
yeah, and it's like you've been seeing like there's all reports coming out that like basically employees at Ubisoft were pushing for the delay of Shadows for months, and they've been pushing for like games going day one on Steam for years. I get it from like the business aspect of like why give Steam 30% when we can just sell it on our own platform for keep 100, but it's like all right, overall you're probably gonna in the end lose more money
Hmm.
putting it on your platform than if you were to just put it on Steam. Um, so yeah, like it's just a lot of that too. And then so like I was talking about, like what basically this whole partnership, just because it's got to be the right person. Like there's been people like talks that like eventually they might sell to a private like equity companies, which is the worst case scenario because what equity companies do is they buy up brands that are usually it's like the peak is behind them. Like we've seen this like case point like Sports Illustrated, like a private equity company bought them up a few years ago. We saw a lot of newspapers in the 2000s
Hmm.
when the internet kind of like killed a lot of them off. Like they were like the peak was behind them. There was and instead of like trying to find a way to like keep going, instead of what they do is they lay off as many people. They run as cheaply as they can. They jack up prices. They take out giant loans in the company's names, and they just run it until there's no more profits, and they just get rid of it. So that is the worst case scenario for things to happen. There was like some shareholders that own less than 1% of the company of Ubisoft that called them out publicly saying they want them to go private or sell the Gemolts to sell off and they specifically said to private equity. It's like, of course they did. The private equity company wants them to sell to private equity. Well, of course they would. Which is the word because the layoffs will be massive and they will.
Yes.
You think people get frustrated about the nickel and diming that Ubisoft does now? It's only going to get worse if private equity gets it. So, yeah,
Yes.
I don't know. Like I said, like I don't know if Tencent would be better or worse. It's like we yeah, like we're wrestling fans. We see what happened with like WWE. Like Vince was gone and immediately got better, but it doesn't necessarily mean that, like there might not be a Triple H right, and there's probably no Triple H around to like turn this thing around. Like all of the other the sons of Yves have left the company. There is
Yep.
no buddy like they're ready to take over the company that's been there for a while. So and like another major thing that's like been hurting Ubisoft is like you look at all the other major like develop publishers out there, like a Take Two and EA or Square Enix, like they have gold mines of like if they fuck up, they have something to like make up for that. Like Take Two has the NBA 2K games. They have GTA 5. They got GTA 6 coming. That thing's gonna make like $10 billion in one day. like they're fine. Like EA has Madden, has FIFA. Like I said, Square Enix has Final Fantasy 14. They have things that they are okay on. Like this company will still be like. Obviously, you can't make too many bad decisions. You're not idiot proof, but they are like in a much better place of like like if one game fails, it's not going to destroy them. Ubisoft
Right.
doesn't really have that. Like their games need to hit big, and like yeah, some major needs to happen there because like you've heard like we've been hearing for years now about like just the way like the work culture is pretty terrible. There's been like rumors of like and potentially of like them trying to like unionize and trying like potentially going on strikes. Because like working conditions is so bad. The pay there apparently of like all the major companies they pay the least amount. And I think another thing like like as really upset a lot of people is like they got really heavily into crypto and NFTs, which a lot of companies do. Like Square Enix is still putting on an NFT game, I believe next year. Like that's still happening. But I pissed a lot of people
Shit.
off at the company and is like kind of like makes a lot of people look at them side eye. And then I mean maybe one of the most like not maybe not the worst, but another big thing is like you look at like consumers have figured out kind of how Ubisoft games work, where their games go on sale quickly. And it's like whenever a Ubisoft game
Yep.
comes out, it's like it's the most common thing. Cool, and I'll buy it for $20 in 3 months. Obviously, it's not gonna be $20, but it'll be like $50 or $40 in 3 months, or like you just wait till Black Friday, and it'll be $30 or half off or whatever. And we've seen that, and we kind of seen that like a lot in we've seen a lot in like the movie industry where in like the kind of like late 2010s, early 2020s, where all these like big like you know movies will come out, but because they wanted like to get people to their streaming services, whether it's HBO Max or Peacock or whatever Paramount, to get because they didn't care about making money off of the thing. They just want to get subscribers to it. Um,
Yes.
they would put their movies out in theaters and then pretty quickly afterwards put them for free on their streaming services just to get people to subscribe to the service. And it kind of like in a way killed off a lot of like this is pre-COVID, like really like made it a lot harder for movies to be successful in theaters because like I'll just wait 30 days, 60 days for your movie to come to the streaming service, get it for a month, or I already own the service, and I'll just watch it and then get rid of the service or whatever. And we've seen them, and then COVID kind of like sped that up a lot, but we've seen these, the industry try to like in the filming industry go back on that, and like now we're seeing them like, but even still, it's still an issue where like 30 days, 60 days after a movie comes out, you can just rent it for $20 at home, which is still, if you're like two people go to the theaters, like that's more than $20 right there. It's just cheaper to watch it at home, or like a lot of times people might have a really nice OLED TV or whatever, or it's like or like or it's a 90 days to 3 months out. It's on a streaming service for free to watch. So we've seen them like they went too heavy in one direction, which was great for consumers, great for people like us. But like maybe it wasn't a great thing long term for the industry, especially when it went from like we just want subscribers to our service. We don't care about making a profit to like holy shit, we need to make a profit on this service. We need to jack up prices to make the money back on this. Like we can't afford to lose money on this thing anymore. Um, so like I wonder if like that's something that maybe they work. I mean, obviously like it's as a consumer, like I don't want that to happen because I would rather wait 3 months to be able to buy your game for half off. But I can, from a business standpoint though, consumers aren't, for the most part, consumers that somewhat pay attention to video games in this part, like they know how Ubisoft goes. And like a lot of times their games come out and they have problems. We've seen it with Star Wars Outlaws. Like I really like Star Wars Outlaws. I think it is a good game. But there was a lot of problems with that game at launch. And like it's just like the vibes are not like you just see the frustration when that game came out. A lot of people are playing it. They seem like They put a patch out and it erased a bunch of people like their saves on PlayStation. Like like that was an issue. So like the vibes are not great on this game, and all you're hearing right now is like here's a roadmap of everything we're gonna do to make this game better. There's big patches coming out November 21st. That's really the 1.0 for this game. It's like that's not okay. Like you're allowed to have one of those, but I think like of Ubisoft, they are one of the having an honest discussion with Ubisoft, they are one of the worst when it comes to game quality coming out as far as bugs and glitches. Like I think they make really good games. There's like a 10-year stretch where like I loved all Ubisoft games they put out, but like there's been a long stretch here lately of like Ubisoft is probably like everybody puts out a buggy broken game at one point, like, but companies come back. Cyberpunk, case in point. But Ubisoft is like they're consistently those games come out. There's a stigma to their games as far as they're gonna be, when they finally are 1.0, they're gonna be half off. So I don't know. That was a long rant there. I apologize, Gables, but go ahead. I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that.
Well, the only thing I can really add on top of that is like for Ubisoft games, there's a reason why people, when they play Ubisoft games and stuff, to expect the typical Ubisoft jank, which is basically a lot of crazy bugs, certain glitches. Hell, I can even remember as far back as like when Assassin's Creed 3 released and stuff, and that first initial week, I encountered little random glitches, random
Hmm.
bugs and stuff. Like there was like wolves I was facing and stuff with like the starting area and stuff like that. It's like one of the wolves I killed and stuff like that. It immediately like just the death animation literally was it just sticking into the the freaking snow like a freaking like a duck or something just like dove right into the thing of snow and all of a sudden you just see its feet just sticking out of the snow, you
Yeah.
know. So I just called him Dart Wolf. It's because it was just basically just like random dart like right through the thing. So it's that was way back. I think it was what like 2011, 2012 or some shit like that.
I want to say it's 2012 because I think the next one was Unity,
Okay.
which was the most broken one. Uh,
Yeah, exactly the point, you know. So this has been a issue with Ubisoft for quite a long time. But yeah, just little bits. But yeah, mostly I understand and agree like in terms of mostly like what you were just saying though.
yeah, yeah. Anyways, moving on here, we can probably run through this one kind of quickly here. Sticking with Ubisoft here. Apparently, so it's been kind of reported a couple years ago, I believe, that Assassin's Creed Black Flag is being remade um, for modern day consoles. Apparently, that game was supposed to be their big holiday 2025 game,
Hmm.
and that might get delayed now because of basically the Shadows being delayed to next year. It's kind of throwing in it's kind of like a domino effect here of like
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed Red, I believe no, Red is Shadows. Is it Jade is the mobile game? What was the witch one that's supposed to take place during the witch trials? Fuck, I can't remember the name. I can't remember
I'm
the code
not
name.
sure.
I can't remember the code name for that. Anyways, that was supposed to be the holiday 2026 game, but now basically Shadow's being delayed. It's kind of throwing everything like throwing a wrench in all the plans. Um, I don't know, like uh, Black Flag is one of my favorites of like I would say of the before the like this trilogy we've had recently of Origins,
Yes.
Odyssey, and Valhalla. Black Flag was maybe my favorite. Up there with like Revelations and Syndicate's probably up there too. Actually, now that I think about it. But yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
because that was like the initially one of the this was actually the first Assassin's Creed game, which is completely different than the story arc or something like that. They were going from like Assassin's Creed 1 all the way up through 3.
Yeah, yeah. So that's kind of like the one that like kind of really laid the groundwork of the changes of like what eventually became Assassin's Creed. But like I love Black Flag. I would honestly rather see like kind of take a page off Square Enix here and like do the Ezio trilogy as a remake instead. I'd be fucking down for
Mm,
that one because
yeah,
that
I
was
would
probably the
be
peak.
too.
That's the peak of fucking Assassin's Creed still
That
probably.
is.
Even though like yeah. Oh man, like I would love to play.
2009 was Assassin's Creed's peak.
Yeah, yeah. They put out some great games since then, but yeah, like I still like the Ezio was probably is still the best character of everybody though. So I don't know. I mean, it's gonna be interesting. Like they have like a whole plan of like Assassin's Creed games coming up, but obviously it's like we just talked about like these games. Like I mean, I think obviously I understand we want these games out in the holiday season, but like they need to get shit back on track before they even start thinking about probably even considering. But I think it'd be okay. Like if I don't think it'd be a major deal putting two Assassin's Creed games out in the same year as long as they're different. Like So I think Shadows is gonna be Shadows and Black Flag are. I mean, even though yeah they're the same franchise, there's a lot of differences in those games. And Black Flag is not like it's not like doesn't have like the Ubisoft bloat as like I imagine like a Shadows will have. Black Flag
Mm.
it's a pretty big size game. I don't know unless they're like adding a bunch to it. I kind of hope not. Honestly, I'd rather be closer to like a 1-to-1 than like they try to like add more to it. But I think that'd be okay. And like I said, like you're talking about feudal Japan, and you're talking about like um, I can't remember where the fuck was Black Flag at. I can't remember where the fuck it was at on the islands. Oh, whatever. Anyways, but totally two totally different. We're not talking about like we're going to. It's like all right, well, cool. This one's in Rome and this one's in Europe. Like these are totally different types of environments they're going to be in. So I don't think it'd be a major ordeal to put two of them out the same year. What about you?
Yeah, I'm not really too excited too much for like Black Flag and stuff. I mean, I really don't have as much nostalgia for it as like what some other gamers have, but I do know that it did have some decent reviews when it released back when. But at the same point, yeah, I'm not really too excited in terms of like the remake unless they did something to just make the game you know, just enticing enough for me to want to give it a shot.
Yeah, yeah. I'll be, as soon as I like start to see some shit though, I'm like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, I'm in. So, I know myself, I'm a sucker for that shit. So, as soon as I see something, I'm like, oh yeah, bringing me back, I'll be in. Next up here though, so this is from Jason Schreier here. I did this on I think it was Spawn Wave podcast. He mentioned that so Horizon, there's been like they've kind of talked about there's a Horizon multiplayer game in the works and there's Horizon 3 in the works. They're totally two separate games.
Hmm.
Um, that apparently the multiplayer game is up next. This is from so Jay Schreier said here, Horizon Online is their next product, not whatever the third single player game looks like. That one is a ways off. So Horizon 3, ways to go. No idea. I don't know. Maybe it could be next year. Maybe it's 2026. Who knows for this multiplayer game. Um, I'm I'm a little more hopeful for this one than I am most games as service games. Like we obviously like this doesn't necessarily mean it's a games as a service. It could just mean it has online multiplayer. If it's more to like because like Horizon is basically like a very much a Monster Hunter style game, and like if it's kind of like a Monster Hunter Worlds or Wilds, like it just kind of takes that mechanic and it's not like this giant like games of service type of thing. Like when we say game service that we think about with like fucking like here's every season passes and all this like quarterly stuff and all these major updates like if it's just like hey it's like you can play this game like here's like the story mode and all this like there's a big open world and also you can play with your friends. I'm kind of in for that because I like the gameplay enough of Horizon. I also really love the story and Aloy, but if I'm gonna be down for like I don't know to me like I'm down for this, but if it turns out it's like more games of servicey then I don't know if I'm gonna like that. But like if it's just kind of basically games, if it's just Horizon with an online mode, I'm okay. I think I'll be okay with that one.
Hmm. This is the first time we've heard about rumblings and rumors or something about like an online like sort of
Well, it's been rumored for a long time.
Horizon. It's been a rumor for a long time and not really as concrete. But as far as like for a project like that in general, I'm kind of unsure about it only because I know that Horizon, especially like Zero Dawn, does have a rich story. At the same time, unless they're doing like some form of a spin-off game to where it would make remote sense, I am kind of a little bit I'm kind of a little bit like hesitant in terms of like this type of a project because I'm trying to think about possibilities of this, and if it's not like say a live service game, I am gonna be fairly surprised.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's still fairly early. We know
Mm.
next to nothing about this project besides what the rumors have been stating and also what Jason Schreier shared on the Spawn Cat, like the Spawn Wave and stuff like Spawn Wave's podcast and stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much it for
Okay.
me.
All right. Moving on here though to our last major topic we have here. You were bringing this one up to me that so I guess in California here. So this is coming into place next year. This is from I think I got this from The Verge. Legislation will force digital storefronts to tell customers they're just getting a license to use to use the digital media rather than suggesting they actually own it. So basically, like when you buy games or music or movies or whatever digitally, basically it's telling you when you purchase it, you'll get like some sort of like pop up or something. Who knows how they're going to do it? Basically telling you you don't own this. You're getting the license. Uh, this will go into, like I said, next year. It will ban digital storefronts from using the terms of buy or purchase. And the new law, the law will not affect stores that allow like permanent offline downloads. So there is that to it.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, Gables, what are you thinking on this one, buddy?
All right. So what I'm really much thinking, I mean, this, to my knowledge, is the first of its kind, really, to where we have an initial state filing a bill, actually passing a bill saying that, hey, come the first part of, say, 2025 and stuff, if you have a digital storefront, you have to post on your initial website for if a game. And I looked at some of the specifics for like a video that I was watching earlier on tonight where unless the game itself just specifically says, hey, you can buy this game and play it offline, kind of like how GOG does with some of their game downloads because they're DRM free and this and that, then you have to label it on the game itself that this game you can't personally like, buy it or something like that. This is only going to be a rental for a specific number of time, like an undetermined date. Like whether or not if that date, that expiration date comes like 10 years from now, or if it's just like a couple of years from now, or any way, shape, or form. Like this initial bill is categorized so like discreetly to where they just list like certain like specific categories that kind of just bunches up like video games, movies, music, like ebooks and stuff like that is like one initial sum. My initial thought of it is like, yeah, I'm definitely for going through and letting the consumer be completely like informed about this potential thing. Because if they choose that they want to try to like buy like say a license or something like that for like an initial game or initial movie or whatsoever, I mean that's generally up the consumer to decide. But yet, what I also kind of feel that is something that doesn't get less talked about and stuff is like just the aspect of when you are spending money, like say on a transaction where you feel like you are like an ownership of it, like say for example, like say a video game, a $70 video game. But at the same time, if you make this purchase not knowing that you're actually just spending money on a license for something like that and not initially owning it, I mean, that's not good in terms of like that digital storefront that just sold you this initial thing because it's like it doesn't clearly state, hey, this thing is like going to expire at a certain date. We're not sure when or whatever in the heck, but yeah, it's just basically sort of like trying to do like a consumer protection sort of like thing inside the state of California currently. I mean, I do expect possibly other states that could go through and pass similar things. But at the same thing, I think this is just a start to try to evolve like with how the in like pretty much entertainment as a whole is pretty much consumed, which is becoming mostly digital, if not almost getting to the point where it's going to be entirely digital one day, which is entirely crazy to think about through our perspective since we've grown up during like the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s and stuff, you and I, Tyler, to where it's like there's always been something physical that has been in place in terms of media or in terms of entertainment. But we need, it's just something that we need laws in place like this from our government to where we have to have these initial things of, hey, if we're buying a digital content stuff, we want to know that we're actually buying this stuff and owning it digitally. So that way it doesn't matter whether or not like it's stored on a server somewhere and stuff, that we have access to it whenever we want,
Mm.
or the fact that we have the right, hey, we can buy something just to rent for a specific number of time. Like how some streaming services where you could just rent a movie for say $20 and then just go through and do that, and then all of a sudden it's like that expires and you have to rebuy, spend the money again if you want to watch it again or something like that. But yeah, when it comes to video games and stuff on the storefronts like Steam, like PSN, like Nintendo's eShop or Microsoft storefront and stuff, there really isn't a lot of when you go and try to spend money on their like on their storefronts and stuff that you're not going to go forth and play certain games like you can play certain games offline. There will be some initial games and stuff that will say they have DRM on them, like say on Steam, but yet it's not informing the consumer for the most part of, hey, you're not going to have these specific game purchases or something unless, something else initially goes through and goes happen. I mean, let's look at the standpoint here of like say the Crew. The Crew, that game and stuff, the Crew and the Crew 2,
Speaking of Ubisoft,
when by Ubisoft, yeah, also coincidentally enough, Ubisoft centric stuff apply to this as well, as those games when they initially their servers are getting shut down, right? Those games were pulled out of people's libraries. And that was like initially come as a shock and kind of surprise to a lot of these like people that have bought this game. Is like a lot of people thought, hey, I bought this game from this digital storefront, and yet but I don't own it.
yeah.
Like, why is it coming out of my library even though I spent full price on these games? Even though Ubisoft went through and decided like, hey, we're going to release an update to where people can play these games offline. It's unless you own like a physical copy of either one of those
Well,
games and
didn't
stuff.
they? I think they
Yeah.
backtracked after they did that, like because it was like they pulled it because you couldn't play because it was online only, and I think later on
Right.
they did it offline mode after everybody got pissed off at them.
Well, yeah, that's the detail though I did forget about. So that initially is something it's been such a while since that has happened
It was like yeah, like a
that
year or two
obviously
ago.
certain things go together in
Yeah,
my
it's
head.
also the Crew. Who gives a shit about Crew?
The Crew, yeah. Well, yeah, true, but at the same time, it's just the fact that people bought these games, but yet now they're disappearing from the digital libraries.
Yeah,
Or even just one more example I can give and stuff is let's look at the case with Rockstar and with Grand Theft Auto. When those remasters came out and stuff, those versions that were on PC were actually getting replaced and like updated with like those initial versions of them, which were worse versions than say the original like PC releases.
yeah. It wasn't like Warcraft 3 did the same thing or something like that.
Absolutely, with
Yeah,
Warcraft 3, Blizzard uploaded and just replaced the original game with a butchered, much more terrible version of that remaster and
yeah,
stuff, and it pissed all of their longtime like Warcraft players on that did initially buy and play that game, or even just didn't buy it, but yet now they have a worse version of a game that they've owned for years, all because of like this whole thing of buying and replacing. And quite honestly, we're sort of seeing similar things with like the original Horizon Zero Dawn, where that game was pulled off of like I think that original game was pulled off of a digital storefront or something of
yeah.
that
I can't.
sort.
I think it was like it wasn't Steam and it wasn't PlayStation. Um, but yeah, it was pulled off the
Epic Game Store?
I don't know if it was Epic. It was like maybe GOG or something like that. It was pulled off of. But yeah, I did see
Yeah,
that too. Yeah.
the initial point is the remaster of that game releases later on this month, right? And so what are gamers going to do when they see
But you could
two
still play
versions
it
of the
if you.
same
Well,
game?
sorry to cut you off, but you can still play that if you bought it. You can still play that version of the game. It's just you can't buy
Well,
that version
right.
anymore.
Yeah, exactly. The remastered version is going to be more and stuff, but yet if you give a choice like to a gamer or some if it's on the same storefront, let's say like on PSN, oh hey, I could spend the full price for this remaster and stuff on PS5, or I could just spend for the original version of it on the thing where it's remotely cheaper. But
Yeah. Well, I
even
just mean like,
so,
like if you've already paid for it, they didn't take that away from people that bought it. It's just you can no longer if
right.
you can no longer buy that if you don't own it already.
Right. And so to tie things up in a bow for how I'm feeling about this is like with all these different changes and all these different factors factoring into play and stuff, this is very kind of like a complicated mess of things that have been happening leading up to this initial bill going through and being passed in California. And quite honestly, I am glad that this is starting to become a thing inside of our like judicial system and our different forms of like say the government and stuff to where we have states that are looking at these initial digital transactions, seeing that these things are transpiring and stuff, and actively just trying to tackle these in some form. I'm personally happy about that. At the same time, it's like I'm very much kind of unsure of how this is going to progress past that. So,
Yeah. Yeah. If anything, like GameStop's really happy about this because you bought them like 6 more months probably. But
probably.
yeah, like I mean, honestly, I don't think this is gonna make a major difference in like things like this might change minds. Some people like I say that somewhat jokingly about GameStop buying them 6 more months. I think some people it will make them like kind of change their mind because there's like a lot of people that don't think about that. Like they just kind of buy the thing. Like they just people will pay for convenience. You know, it's like you hear
Yes,
about that a lot.
that's
Where like
true.
like we're wrestling fans. Like I was reading a lot about like how like people will like when people will buy like they made it harder for like people to like stream illegally like WA pay-per-views like 15 years ago. Um,
Yes,
and like a lot of people like people talk about is like people will pay the $50 or $60 whatever it was to buy a pay-per-view if it is just hard enough to just get for free. Like people will
true.
and like obviously this is like you're not running free to, but like, hey, like I went and started going digital with like Madden because of like I honestly it was just like it's just pure laziness. Like I got really tired of like swapping discs, going from Madden to like all right, cool, I'm just buying Madden digitally, but I'll buy all Madden games physically, and like it changed a little bit. Like I've then went full digital for a while, and now I've kind of gone back to more like I'll buy the big major games that I'm really excited about to like digitally, and I'll buy like the games I know I'm gonna beat once, and I'll sell them to get to get money back to buy
Well,
more
yeah.
games. Um, but everybody's different. Like we obviously know like there is a risk when we buy these games, especially digitally.
Yes.
Even physically it doesn't really matter. Like I own a physical version of Battleborn still. I can't do shit with that thing. Like I have it. It doesn't necessarily mean anything, but it does. Yeah, like obviously depends on the game. Yeah, like but like for the most part, like I think it's. I don't think it's gonna change the mind of most people. I think maybe if they don't think about it in the forefront of their minds, like they know that like at any point in time, like like Amazon could like I buy like I whenever I buy movies, like I don't buy a lot, but when I do buy movies, like I buy digitally and I buy them on Amazon. Like that's my store. But it's like that's like of all the companies that could go away at any point in time, I feel like Amazon is probably the most okay. So like the odds of me losing those, and it's not like this is like Amazon 2 is gonna happen in like 5 years from now. So like I feel okay about that. And I think for like things
Yes.
like that, not make a major difference. And like gaming and maybe it will a little bit more. Just for like you said, like hey, like at any point in time, like and we've seen a lot with like what the Wii U when 3DS shut down earlier this year, and there's a
Yes.
bunch of games that, but a lot of those games are digital only, so there's only so much you can do about that. Um,
Exactly. With the Wii, the Wii U, like the 360 storefront and
yeah,
stuff
shut down
like
this year.
that. I
That's right.
mean,
Yeah, PS3
yes.
is shutting.
Yes.
Did shut down or is shutting down? I can't remember.
Let's see.
Um,
Wii, Wii U, 3DS, Xbox 360. Yeah, a lot of digital games disappeared that were only on those platforms.
yeah. So,
At the
I
same time, it's like one thing that I was thinking about with you while you were talking and stuff is like having the initial like stating like on the initial like digital storefronts of what the customer is going to expect if you do buy this and stuff. I mean, oftentimes if the consumer is informed in terms of what's going to potentially happen and stuff if you do spend the money on this, there's just some people, yeah, they won't go through and initially go through with the purchase, right? But at the same time, there are plenty of people, if not, there are a lot of people that just look at that as like, oh, okay, then just spend the money anyway and stuff
yeah.
and don't even think about it, And that's just the kind of choice and stuff that all of us have currently still in
Mm,
terms of forms of entertainment. I mean, we can own any type of physical stuff, any type of digital stuff if we choose to, based on convenience or factors, kind of like what you were paying, like what you were just saying,
yeah.
Tyler, in that retrospect. But yeah, it just really comes down to consumer choice. Consumer protection stuff is definitely something that is being thought of more so now as a form to this digital age. And definitely this is going to be something that's going to be continuing to be talked about for the next couple of months, if not the next couple of years, as it evolves.
Yeah. Like I said, like I don't think it's gonna make. I think it's just giving consumers more information about what's going on. Like, because like I
Yeah.
said, there's probably a lot of people that probably knew, but they never really like. maybe they didn't like. It's one of those things where like sometimes you know something, but you don't really ever you don't think about it,
Well,
kind of thing.
yeah,
It's
that's
like
just the initial thing with me personally because I've known for years that these digital games and stuff were just licenses that we just purchased for a certain period. That's part of the reason why I still collect a lot of physical games. Is because I I know it's inconvenient because there's so many different
yeah,
types of physical games I own, but at the same time, that luxury of hey, I can plug in my system, I can choose this game, play it on here, it'll just start up just like that and stuff, and that's just a choice that I made as a consumer to do
yeah.
that. Whereas, let's say with you, you have a few physical games, but you mostly like to play games on digital and stuff because of convenience,
Well, it's
and
more like
that's
50.
perfectly fine too.
It's like 50-50. I just trade my games in though to buy more games.
Yeah,
So that's kind of like that's the way I go. But yeah, like yeah, it's like I said, I don't. We are headed toward the digital train is not a stopping. This might just be like
no,
a little bump in the road that kind of like extends the life of physical, but ultimately, like I said, like just consumers having more information is not a bad thing. So, but I don't think this is going to change a lot of people's minds. But moving on here to some other news this week, some smaller stuff here. Apparently, AEW is shopping around, talking to the publishers about developers about potentially making another AEW game. So obviously, the first one game came out. It did the reviews were pretty middling. And the game came out. We both liked the game, but it's like I think the biggest issue we had with it was by the time the game came out, the roster was pretty dated, and there wasn't a lot of content to it. They did add stuff later on, did a bunch of seasons to it, but ultimately, I think they were pretty frustrated. Like there was a lot of reports going into Fight Forever coming out last year, like a year out, basically that like there was a lot of frustration between the publisher or the developer and AW. Um,
yes,
Going like up to the launch of the game. The game was way over budget, took way longer than it was supposed to. Then it came out and didn't light the world on fire from anybody necessarily. So I'd be down for another game because like I liked Fight for what it was. It was like my thing was just yeah, there was like I played probably like 10 or so hours of it. I put a bunch of time into it like for like a week like 2 weeks maybe, and then I
hmm
was like all right cool. I don't really there's not really much else I want to do here. I know you got into it way more than I did. So I'd be down for
Well,
like a
absolutely, I did because at its core, it was definitely a fun game. There was some good aspects of it. I liked playing as the different wrestlers and stuff, but I kind of felt like the story mode in and of itself definitely could have been
yeah
much better in
yeah
terms of what
definitely
was presented. And on top of that, the online stuff, that online battle royale stuff. I mean, God, that it was a fun novelty for like a couple of plays and stuff. I mean,
yeah
you and I did it during Extra Life last year, but at the same time, we were pretty much done with it after like about 30 minutes or so of that stuff because it was just yeah, it was just borderline just repetitive and kind of
yeah. Well, and the
kind of
people that are
just
playing it were like
stupid.
the hardcore, so you just got our ass whooped. So
Yep,
yeah
absolutely.
yeah
That was just that. But
yeah. But yeah, I'd be down
when
for another one, and like AEW does own the engine to that game, so um,
true.
if they can just like yeah like a more up to date one with like yeah just more content more so than anything, and it'd be great because like it's almost like when we talk about like those like sports like Mario games, like a lot of like or like those like Arms or something like that. Like when I feel like
hmm
if this game comes out, it's like yeah, technically it's a good game, but it's just like after like a weekend, I'm just kind of out of things to do, and it's like I don't really want like that's kind of my problem. That was like the same thing I had with like AEW Fight Forever. So like it's like I want to play this game
Well,
more. I just don't. There's not much else to do.
I'm more open for there to be another AEW video game, like wrestling game. I would definitely look forward to that. But in order for me to really look forward to that, I need to know who's going to be working along, like who's going to be working on
Yeah,
this. How are they going to improve like some of the bread and butter match types that they have in this whole organization, because it's like I want to know how are you improving the ladder matches? How are you improving the casino battle royale stuff? Is there going to be additional like match types? There's a lot of factors going into like what I want in the next AEW game because I really did like playing that game, but everything else around it just felt like jank.
yeah,
Like I couldn't really play ladder matches. Like the ladder matches felt weird because the ladder itself, whatever you try to do, like climb up the ladder or this or that, just felt just a little bit off.
yeah,
Especially when you're trying to play a game the career mode where it involves a ladder match But another thing is the momentum meter did not make any sense at all, and especially when you game to like pin opponents and stuff, and you could not predominantly pin opponents unless, oh my god, it just felt like it was so much more elongated or just so super short, because even if you got down to like the lowest, like the blue momentum stuff, like about a minute in, you would automatically lose a match if
Mm,
you freaking didn't fight back like enough in some aspects. And so just try to balance and try to understand that, hey, you can make a game that's similar to a classic game, but at the same time, this AEW Fight Forever lacked an identity in terms of how to make its own particular type of like wrestling game in of itself, because it copied too much from the past, from games like WrestleMania 2000 and No Mercy and WCW NW Revenge, and not so much more of how to evolve those
yeah,
games from those games and stuff to create your own experience that would have been, in my honest opinion, possibly one of the best wrestling games of all time.
yeah,
They just lacked the execution. They lacked the understanding at the time of how Ukes was going through and developing that game, even though from what I did hear from like certain rumors and stuff, there were clashes between like Ukes and like AEW, like in terms of what they wanted in the game and actually what like Ukes could actually do for that game.
yeah, yeah. And it's like, it's honestly, it's like AW Fight Forever, almost like they were definitely like trying to get like that feel of like those old school like wrestling games, but it's like it felt like more like a remaster of like those kind of games. But really,
Yeah.
we needed a remake of those style of games. Um, so I don't know. It definitely was like it definitely felt like their first attempt at one of these games, which is what it was. Um, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I hope it happens because I liked it,
Yes.
and we definitely because I don't really care for the WWE games. What Fight Forever was going for is what I want of a wrestling video game, so I would be down for that to get more of it. Um, Next up here though, kind of interesting about Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. The first Zelda game ever to not have Miyamoto in the credits.
Yeah, that's something really surprising because ever since the first Legend of Zelda and stuff, Miyamoto has been at least credited in some form,
Yeah,
either if it's like being like a game director or a planner or whichever,
producer, something like that. Yeah.
yeah, producer or some of that sort. He's always been inside the credits, but not seeing Miyamoto inside the credits of, say, a recent Zelda title is super crazy to me.
Yeah, like he hasn't like directly worked on the Zelda games for like 20 years, but
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy. Yeah, just like the fact he's not in it. Um,
true.
Next up here, though, Crafton is helping Power World, helping the makers of Power World make a mobile game. Gables, if it's not a Pokemon Go game, what the fuck are we even doing? You know, like that's all I want. I want a
At this
Power World Go.
point, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a Pokemon Go themed game, or or the most hilarious part, if it's like something very obscure, very abstract, or something like, say, oh god, like a Pokemon Sleep style of game.
Oh my god, yeah, just like I mean, they've already poked the bear a lot. Like, let's
Oh,
go for
dude,
it even more.
or even some like just like a really quick cash grab they could do with Power World or something, is have like a freaking Magikarp jump sort of like a
Oh my
game.
god, yes. Whatever the equivalent of Magikarp is in that game, yeah, Magikarp jump,
Dude,
yeah.
that game is one of the few mobile games I actually really did get into on the iPhone and stuff like that, where it's like Magikarp Jump of
That's
all
so weird.
things.
Yeah.
I
That
know.
that Pokemon trading card game is coming to mobile this month, so
Yeah, that's
I'm
true.
try not to play that. Be smart if I didn't. But what if they just made a Power World trading card game? It'd be fucking awesome. At this point, I just want them to keep poking the bear. Keep fucking with Nintendo. It's hilarious to me.
Oh, that would be an actually big old FU to Nintendo. It was like just create a Power World trading card game.
Yeah. Oh, it'd be awesome if they do. I hope they do. Yeah. But that's it for news and stuff this week. Gables, what have you been playing, buddy?
All right, so what I've been playing is mostly Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. I had a chance to play a little bit of this game this past week, like a handful of hours, like 3 to 4 hours. I initially purchased this game like about over a week ago, but I wanted to finish up on like with Vampire Survivors and stuff, that platinum plus Astro Bot, finishing that up and getting the platinum and stuff. But I actually ended up, this is the first time. I've actually went and bought a Zelda game at a local game stop, not a GameStop, but like a game shop. Yeah, because I went over to a card shop, like a game shop or something like that inside my town, picked up the game, and this past week I decided to play a little bit. And so far I'm starting to get into a little bit of the core mechanics of this Zelda game, getting used to instead of just like hitting everything with a sword or something like that, getting used to like just using certain creatures and stuff as your minions and stuff and just going attacking other creatures is rather entertaining. Like the copy ability for different objects and different enemies and stuff is fairly unique. I mean, there are specific enemies that will, once you do copy them and stuff, they are good for specific situations. Like, for example, there is this spider that's called a Kraltala. I know it's kind of hilarious when you think about it, but this little spider can actually go up different walls or different sides of like stones or something and attack creatures and stuff. I was inside of like a Moblin mini camp, right? So it's like you have three or four of them, and there's like a little treasure chest and stuff that you have to go and like you have to defeat all the monsters and stuff. Well, if this were Link and stuff, you would probably use like a little bow and arrow, or you would use a bomb or something like that to knock them off, or in some other cases and stuff, you probably would have just like just went on to the next area because okay, well, like I figured this out, I'm going to do this. But with this game, one of the more entertaining aspects of this is just figuring out, okay, how am I going to go through and beat these enemies to get this treasure chest? And so what I did was I switched over to like the Kraltala. I would and just launched like about you can only launch like about one at a time, right? So it's like I launched one, it crawled up the side right there. It was just attacking this the moblin that was on the initial post, and as soon as it would die, I'd actually respawn another one and stuff until eventually I got all these moblins and stuff, and a treasure chest just presents itself. I get the contents like some rupees or like different core, like maybe a piece of heart or something if I'm lucky or this or that. But inside the other situation, I played through that initial first like dungeon that they did have near the start of the game and stuff. And I was just using like various other little tactics, like say stacking beds on top of one another, like it is, or some, or just using like a trampoline and stuff, and just bouncing on to different like different platforms and stuff. I think one of the most entertaining things is like you have a bed with you like everywhere you go, and basically you could just create like a two or three stacked bed or something like way up high, so enemies won't attack you and just rest and recover hearts. I think that's I think that's really hilarious because it makes the game less difficult in that aspect to where you can heal or something without having to grind for hearts or grind for or find an inn or something like that and just take a sleep or whatever. But some of the fun I've had in this game is finding different enemies, copying them, and seeing how they go and perform against other enemies. I mean, I got enemies like say like snakes, like birds, like freaking like the moblins, like the spear throwing moblins or like a sword moblin or something. And then you have like the ones that are just really like obscure, like you got a dark nut, which a dark nut is just basically just a dark knight and stuff like that that has a lot of endurance, but yet it has a lot of attack power too. But yeah, the exploration in the game is pretty fun. I've went to Kakariko Village, and I did like a little side quest or something like that for like another initial place to get a piece of heart and stuff. I still can't find all the freaking chickens inside that goddamn like that town and stuff. I'm like missing one. I don't know where, but I'm missing one, and it's really kind of pissing me off a bit because it feels like Ocarina of Time again, where I'm like, okay, how can I find Anju's like freaking cuckoos and stuff, and like they're just hidden in every little peaks and bits and
Did you get
corners
the
and
one off
stuff.
the roof?
Yeah, I believe I did get the one off the roof. Now that I think about it, if not, then I'll have to research that again. But one thing I did in this town, which I think was really hilarious, is like you have like random cats inside this town, right? For Kakariko Village. And you can go through, you can talk to the cats meow and stuff like that. What's more hilarious is I tried this just by just by happenstance. I wanted to find all the different cats inside the village, so I found the one that was obviously on the ground level. I started building little like bed like ports and stuff like that so I can get on top of roofs and just talk with the cats and stuff like that because you can actually do that in this game to where you can get on top stuff of like the different roofs and stuff like that and just talk with the cat to see if everything really happened. Well, of course nothing happened after I did that, you know. It was just something stupid and I just like, "Oh, hey, I got up here. There's this freaking cat. Can I pet the cat? No, I can just talk to it." But you know, I'm really kind of surprised like how much I am sort of like enjoying this game in sort of its core aspect. I haven't done a lot of exploration. I know I have unlocked like after getting past that first initial area of the game, the very beginning of the game, you are presented with an option to where you can either go to the Gerudo Desert or go to like the water initial thing, the Jabuls, like water or some or pond or whatever the hell, and things start to go split off to where okay I can go this way or I can go that way, you know, kind of like how you would in past Zelda games, like say with the original Legend of Zelda or Link to the Past or stuff like that. And everything else along the way I'm more or less discovering, whether it be different side quests, whether it be different creatures I can copy and stuff. It feels like a fairly unique Zelda game in a way where it feels definitely better to play than say Phantom Hourglass and like freaking Spirit Tracks. Well, obviously because
Mhm.
you're not stuck with the gimmick of using a stylus, but at the same point, it definitely has me more interested in wanting to explore different areas of this game, finding what I can and stuff. It's definitely given me that sense of exploration type of feeling, like I kind of had with the last Zelda game that I did play a lot of and eventually beat with Breath of the Wild. I do love how they did borrow elements from, oh my god, yeah, like the Zelda game from last year and
Tears of the
stuff.
Kingdom.
Tears of the Kingdom, thank you.
Yep.
I don't know why I spaced that, but then again, it is getting late into the night. Oh god, yeah. For Tears of the Kingdom and stuff, the elements of like just seeing those type like some of those mechanics inside of this game in sort of like a 2D sort of like isometric thing is really interesting because it's like it presents new solutions, new interesting things you can do with old classic enemies and stuff. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. And that's just my first like 3 to 4 hours of the game. I'm not
Nice.
sure how this game is going to progress further, or there's things that are going to be even more insane that I'm going to be discovering. That I'm probably just going to be spending probably one too many hours or something like that, just screwing around with
Yeah.
it. But yeah, the fascination, the curiousness is there. So that's a good start. But otherwise, that's all I've been playing for this week.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't really been playing anything. I'm just kind of waiting for. I just got my copy of Until Dawn in today,
Mm,
and I haven't started playing it yet though. And then like I have Silent Hill coming next week, so it's kind of like a holding
ooh,
pattern, waiting for those to come. So it's gonna be a pretty busy, like pretty much the rest of the month. I'm gonna have like multiple games to be playing at the same time though. I have to juggle all these new games. So, but yeah, first world problems for sure. But yeah, so that I mean, not yeah, like this kind of a rare week where I'm just kind of like in between games. So, but yeah,
mm.
nothing for me new to talk about. So, um, I think it will wrap it up for us this week, guys. Thank you so much for listening or watching, wherever you're doing, wherever you're at on this, whatever platform you're on. Like I said, top of the show, there's a description down below if you want to click on some of those links and help us out, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook, Twitter, Apple, Spotify, whatever podcasts are on. If you want to go to those places and subscribe to us, like us, 5-star comments, share with your friends, help us out. Like I said, we meet every metric on YouTube to make ad revenue. We just need subscribers to get there. We're getting really close though. We're over 450, so we're getting closer and closer every day. So if you want to help us
Yes.
out, we really would appreciate it. But I was your host. I was Tyler.
And I've been Colonel Gables. Until next time, everyone, have a fun time, play some fun games, especially with this crazy month ahead of us.
Yes.
But mostly, thank you very much for listening to another fun filled episode of the Drunk Nerds podcast.
Thank you, Gables.
Yeah,
Too sweet.
too sweet, man.
Bye, guys.
See ya.